First up, Donald Trump. We've got to ask this question. Is he mad or is he a genius? He's made plenty of headlines in his first 6 weeks of his presidency.
We have accomplished more in 43 days than most administrations accomplished in 4 years or 8 years, and we are just getting started.
Started. From declaring he'll buy Greenland and posting a bizarre AI video of so-called Trump Gaza to pausing military aid to Ukraine. Are these the actions of a madman, or is he a genius who'll make things happen? Then, as new research finds 1/3 of children will be overweight by 2050, we're asking if we should give kids the fat jab, because at the moment only adults currently get it. They've been trialled on children as young as 6. Should work. Should kids get the fat jab, or is it just a case of actually parents taking more responsibility? Then, should we ban chewing gum? Green campaigners are calling for this because 95% of products contain plastic. It's littered all over our streets. Is it time we copied Singapore and just say no more chewing gum in the UK? Then it's the papers and everything else. Reviews of Meghan's new show are not good. At 11:30, Storm will be asking whether the Prime Minister has impressed you with the way he's handled tensions between Trump and Zelensky. And I'll show you how to get in touch with today's album artwork question. So over to our record store we go. Let us see. Somewhere on a shelf. Let's bring. Oh, I say. No idea. So which band is that? Which album? 0207 862 2222 is the number to call. And if you call from a landline, 16p a minute. So quite cheap. We've kept that cost down. Mobiles may be dearer. We have social media at the moment going great guns as well. So that is Blue Sky, a little bit quiet. TikTok, very lively. YouTube, we have a channel. X is just full of Elon Musk. Threads is gone away a little bit. Insta's brilliant. And Facebook is a lot of fun. So there's that weird album. Could it be Oasis? I don't even know. Who is it? What is it? Elbow. And the album is called Build a Rocket Boys. Brilliant. So Trump is on maneuvers again. He's just delivered a major speech to Congress, opening with a declaration. He's just getting started.
America is back. 6 weeks ago, I stood beneath the dome of this Capitol and proclaimed the dawn of the golden age of America. From that moment on, it has been nothing but swift and unrelenting action to usher in the greatest and most successful era in the history of our country.
We'll see. We'll see. We'll come to Trump in a moment. We've got to talk about, you saw sitting behind him is Vice President J.D. Vance, because he's caused a stir. He was talking yesterday about protecting Ukraine. He seemed to downplay Britain's armed forces.
If you want to actually ensure that Vladimir Putin does not invade Ukraine again, the very best security guarantee is to give Americans economic upside in the future of Ukraine. That is a way better security guarantee than 20,000 troops from some random country that hasn't fought a war in 30 or 40 years.
Vance then was asked, wait, is that us, the random country that hasn't fought a war in 30 or 40 years? Is it France? He later added there are many countries who are volunteering support with neither the battlefield experience nor the military equipment to do anything meaningful. That didn't exactly help. John Nichol, famously the RAF navigator who was captured in Iraq, you remember, in Gulf War I in 1990, says, "Dear," this is John's tweet, "Dear Mr. Vice President, 34 years ago, I was released from captivity with the fellow American Desert Storm prisoners of war. I proudly fought alongside many friends. Brits and US didn't survive. Fellow veterans, politely add your own photos and details and tag the Vice President." So he wants to get a bit of a thing going there. I can't see how Vance wasn't referring to us, Phil.
Who knows? I mean, I just think we should get over it. And he's probably right about Ukraine. And I don't like the guy, he's odious. But he's probably right about Ukraine. And let's not forget, we shouldn't have been in those wars anyway. They just caused Iraq, Afghanistan, they just caused loads of trouble. And now Starmer wants to take us in again, put troops on the ground, boots on the ground. So he's probably right. I mean, OK, if you were a brave, I'm going to go the other way now. If you were a brave service man or woman fighting there, they had no choice but to go. Their government sent them, wrongly in my view. And it is, if he was referring to the Brits or whoever, you know.
But this is, but
I
yeah, but
think
that's
we
an
should get
interesting.
over
The
it.
idea that he's broadly right is interesting. That we, you know, our army, if it went into Wembley Stadium, would leave massive empty seats.
We have 56,000 deployable troops in our military, which is shocking. However,
But more people in prison.
He was talking about us and about France because we're the only two countries that have committed to the peacekeeping forces. So while he is right, he should not be insulting other people's forces in that way, because there are veterans alive, people who are, you know, who are still alive, but, you know, very much damaged by having fought in a war. So he should have not just said that at all. That's the bottom line. But he is broadly right in the sense that we could not fight a war. You know, I mean, Phil's talking about Starmer's commitment to a peacekeeping force. It's never going to happen. Starmer is doing what he always does. He's promising. It's never going to happen because Putin isn't going to say yes to it. We know that. And we know now a deal is going to be done. The only role that Keir Starmer had in all of this, and he's playing it, he's milking it for all it's worth, but the only role he really has here is to convince Zelensky to accept the carve-up of his country. And he's done that already because Zelensky has agreed to it, which for me is sad. It's very sad. You know, what it means is that you can walk into someone's country and take a
Well,
picture.
hello. Yeah, I mean,
However,
it's all very well saying,
gotta
oh,
end.
well, it's going to end. And as you just said, and Putin takes the east, the Donbass, and he keeps Crimea. And then Putin says, don't worry, I won't have any more territorial claims. When did we last hear that?
Well, exactly.
Out of interest.
And then the thing is,
what about Latvia and Lithuania? And,
Yes.
you know, I've got a friend who's Slovakian who's stressing.
I mean, come on. This is a giant of a country, Russia. 10 times bigger than Ukraine in...
Let's just give in to
Hang
them
on,
then.
I'll just...
Yeah.
Your words were very
Go
good. Listen to me now. So, 10 times bigger than Ukraine. After 2 weeks, he's bogged down there for 3 years with virtually little movement, war of attrition. He can't even beat puny little Ukraine after 3 years of fighting, and we regard them as a threat to us. Well, come on, let's get real.
Well, listen, there are two schools.
get real.
I spoke to a military expert yesterday who said we have no chance at all of making any impression, any dent in this for the reasons you say.
Yes.
I then heard a different military expert on the radio who said, we don't understand. They're sending people to the Russian front line who are kids. They're sending people who have
Disabled.
disabilities.
Yeah.
They are sending soldiers who can't fight
North
because they are
Koreans.
using them as cannon fodder. And Russia's on the edge of defeat here. So I don't know which to believe. I just want to mention as well, tariffs as well. I mean, in what world is this the second most important story? He's brought in 25% tariffs on Canadian goods, and he's made Justin Trudeau, the Canadian Prime Minister, furious.
The United States launched a trade war against Canada, their closest partner and ally, their closest friend. At the same time, they're talking about working positively with Russia, appeasing Vladimir Putin, a lying, murderous dictator. Make that make sense. Now, it's not in my habit to agree with the Wall Street Journal, but Donald, they point out that even though you're a very smart guy, this is a very dumb thing to do.
So they've fallen out big time. And well, there we are. What do you think of that, Phil?
Well, when he meets the King of Canada, you know who he is.
Yes.
He might put Trump right. I mean, I've got some sympathy for what they're doing over Ukraine because I think we need peace and a move towards peace. You know, Trump's right, Vance is right. Both sides are going to talk. Tariffs, I hope he's just kind of, this is temporary because this will end badly.
What's he? I've
This
lost
will
track
end
of
very badly.
Why is he doing it? I mean, I heard a podcast yesterday saying basically they've switched sides in a war, and the USA is now basically Belarus, and therefore of course you hit all of your former allies with tariffs. I mean, that doesn't make sense either.
But it's part of the madman genius thing, isn't it?
Right.
He's establishing an order. He's establishing how things are going to be. You know, he actually said recently, he's not doing anything now that he didn't say he was going to do before the election. He's done exactly what he said he was going to do.
That's true.
In Ukraine, with tariffs, with ending woke and all that stuff. He's done exactly as he said he was going to do.
Plastic straws
And he's
coming
done it in record time. And this madman theory, you know, you'll know, you guys will know that this was started when Nixon was president, where a lot of communist bloc countries that were unstable. He was trying to convince them he'd nuke them. He was mad enough to nuke them. And this is what I think Trump does. So he's done this to Trudeau, but I think the other countries will fall in line. And I think all of this, I think he is a bit of a genius. I think that terrible mauling that Zelensky got in the Oval Office the other day, I think that was like part of a good cop, bad cop routine, because he wants to look like he's close to Putin, so Putin will move away from China. He's left it to the EU to persuade Zelensky to do the thing, and the EU has. So he's got his own way.
You've introduced the next bit of the show perfectly, because we are talking about exactly that. Is he? Carole says, a genius, or is he absolutely barking mad? But let's talk about Trump. Is he a madman or a genius? Has this all been the work of someone unhinged, or is there a method to it? Let's just have a look at how we make this decision. So we'll come to our little dial, genius, madman, in a second. But here's the question we're asking. And it does involve looking into the brain of the American president, which is no easy matter, I can tell you. I know no one wants to be diagnosing from a distance, as they say. But we'll put the dividing line down the middle. And on the left, we have crazy. The idea that he's crazy, and the idea that he is behaving with such irrationality that he is, in one phrase that's been used, like a horse in a hospital. So you just have no idea. The brain is smoking orange smoke, and the horse is loose in the hospital, and nobody knows how to deal with it, and the horse doesn't even know what it's doing there. So that is the crazy theory. That's the theory that whatever happens in the Trump presidency is going to be completely unpredictable, even to him. Then we have the genius theory. Now, you remember in his first term, he said, I am a very stable genius. Those were his words. And so it's possible, isn't it, as Carole was saying, he could be a genius who's just acting crazy. And here we have a bit of precedent, which actually goes back before Nixon. 500 years to Machiavelli, the Italian so-called Prince of Darkness, the guy who plotted, connived against his colleagues, a jaundiced student of human nature, was big into revenge, said in 1517, sometimes it is a very wise thing to simulate madness. Richard Nixon called this approach the madman theory of foreign policy. Here's Nixon, as Carole was saying, make your enemies think you're so rabid, so unhinged, you're capable of anything, including launching what were called ICBMs, nuclear bombs on your enemies. So that's what he was up to between 68 and 74. So there's the crazy and there's the mad. There's the crazy and the genius. And the argument for the madman theory here is that we now know that Trump said to Kim Jong-un in North Korea, you have a button, I have a bigger button. If you touch your button, we will blow you to smithereens. So that is exactly the madman theory. That's the genius who's pretending to be bad. One more model for you, very different. This is Saddam Hussein, who used the beware of the dog tactic, which is where you don't have a dog, you just have a very big sign saying you've got one. He didn't have weapons of mass destruction. He just told the world he had them. That can go very badly wrong if your bluff is called, as it was, your whole country gets flattened and you end up dying. So, crazy or genius? Madman or genius? We'll get your calls, we'll get your where you think he is on the dial, and you're not going to shift. You think this is all done in a very methodical way.
Yeah, I do. I think he's a combo of both, of madman and genius, but I think the genius probably wins over. You know, you mentioned the Kim Jong-un thing. I mean, he's the blow you to smithereens. He also said to Kim Jong-un, if he did think, he said, I will unleash fire and fury like you've never seen before. And then suddenly, he's the first Western leader to be meeting Kim Jong-un. More importantly, then Trump starts talking about the love notes that they shared between them. And he's doing the same, exactly the same thing.
But you know, there's a whole book about this by Bob Woodward, who interviewed him 25 times. And the audible version of the book, you hear all the interviews.
Yes.
And the thing about it is that once Trump had got that day in North Korea where they were all photographed, he completely lost interest in the story.
Nothing else happened, and that's the problem, isn't it? Because I don't say end in tears.
But he has no attention span.
It didn't end in tears, but it ended with nothing. Yeah. Absolutely nothing to speak of. Hang on, it ended with nothing.
Was it nothing?
And Nixon, let's not forget, the poorest country in the world defeated the most powerful country in the world, despite Nixon's antics of pretending he was going to let off a nuclear bomb.
Bomb Cambodia.
He didn't let off a nuclear bomb.
Yeah. But when genius people who act mad can sometimes do crazy things almost by accident. That's the problem. And he might say, OK, let's just put my finger right near the button.
Same people do things by accident as well.
True.
The thing about Trump, he has always worked, even in his first presidency, he's worked on the basis that he says he makes outrageous statements seem credible. You don't know where he's going to go next.
Yeah.
He might not. And there's a power in that. And so he can threaten a country, and the country think, well, he might just
But some of the
actually do
stuff
it.
is actually happening. The tariffs are actually happening.
Yes.
They've abolished the weather forecasting association in America, which shows them when hurricanes are going to strike.
But when he said before the election he was going to end the war, he didn't say how he was going to end it. He didn't explain how. But what he's doing now is going to end it. And like I say, I'm brokenhearted about the Ukrainian people. I really am, because they fought like lions. I really am. And if the West had given them the weapons in the first 6 months, they'd have won the war. However, that didn't happen. So all that is left now is a deal. And Trump, with that terrible mauling he gave Zelensky, with him saying yesterday, I'm not going to give you much more time. I'm running out of patience. I'm almost done with you. Zelensky has now said, OK, I'm going to do the deal. He's going to do the mineral deal. So Trump has got everything he wanted. Now, in the end, that might be OK for Ukraine. We've got a prime minister here who keeps on promising things to Ukraine. He said the other day that they were on the road to NATO membership. No, they're not. They're a million miles away from it. Trump is a realist. Starmer is a dreamer.
Go on, Phil.
Let's just stand back a second. The guy is odious, but
Yes.
he is a genius as well. And let's just stand back, because this isn't just about the distractions that we're hearing, all the toing and throwing and the rows and everything. This is about a man who knows exactly what he's doing. Mm-hmm. He wants the riches of the world for himself and his rich billionaire friends. And when he goes into Ukraine and gets this deal, it won't be ordinary people in Ukraine who benefit, or even ordinary Americans that benefit. It will be his rich billionaire friends. And I agree with you, Carole. This is all not about Russia. He wants Putin on side because it's about China.
Yes.
China is the big evil monster in his eyes. And this is about getting Russia on board so he can then turn his attention to China.
Right.
None of that is mad. All of that is logical.
It is logical until you consider that during the COVID crisis, he told people to inject themselves with disinfectant.
Yes,
that wasn't at all rational. OK, but where are we? So Madman is here. This is our dial. OK, midway, 50-50 is there. Genius is there. Phil, where are you? Stop my hand as I go down. Genius, genius, genius.
Oh,
Okay.
stop.
OK, you're about there, are you?
I'm definitely a genius.
There. Carole, where are you?
Definitely a genius.
More genius than Phil or less?
Yeah, a bit more.
A little bit more. So Carole is there. Phil is there. Let's put a P there for Phil. Let's put a C there for Carole. Let's talk to Derek in Northamptonshire. Hi, Derek.
Oh, good morning, Jeremy, and the panel.
Well, let's start with where you are on the dial here. Genius is here and Madman is there. Where do I put my pen for you, Derek?
Without a doubt, genius.
And further round than Carole, it sounds like. You really are. You don't think he's mad at all?
Not, well, if I may quote the old saying, there may be method in his madness, if that is the case. But I believe he's a very clever man and is bringing peace to the world, which they used to be when he was last in power.
Do you know, you may all be completely wrong. I mean, the idea that you should inject bleach to cure COVID, how is that genius? How is it genius?
I don't know whether that was actually what he said. I think that's been misinterpreted.
No, he did say that. He did say, or hit the body.
Not exactly. I think he suggested that as a possible way of dealing with it externally from the human body. But he was really suggesting, isn't there something else we could inject into the human body that would have the same effect? I think that quote's been wrongly interpreted.
OK, misinterpreted. All right. Well, he's got an ability to make us believe things didn't happen that did, that's for sure. Grace in London, where are you? Genius here, Madman here. Where do you want my pen?
He's mad and very, very dangerous.
All the way round, or a little bit of genius, or all mad?
Well, I don't think they're necessarily mutually exclusive, but he is definitely as mad as one could be.
I'm putting you there. Tell us why, Grace, because at the moment you are in the minority. Most people think he's a genius.
As you pointed out, he has said some incredibly silly and unscientific things. His complete disregard for climate science is incredibly dangerous and stupid. And my perception of him is that he fundamentally has this weird messiah complex thing going on. Apparently, he grew up with a kind of a fake heretical pastor who told him, in contravention of what Christianity actually says, that if you just really want and positively think about what you can achieve, then you will achieve it, which is not actually what any pastor should be telling anyone. But Trump seems to think that if he wants to have more wealth and power, he can achieve it, and he is somehow, he thinks, some kind of messenger from God. He's going to save America, all the while behaving completely contrary to what God actually said. But he thinks he's got some kind of divine right,
Well,
he's living in a fantasy land.
When he had that debate with Kamala Harris, and he said there in Springfield, Ohio, migrants are eating the cats, they're eating the dogs of the people who live there. Everybody laughed and said, oh, he's lost the election now. It was, for him, a brilliant moment. We didn't see that, and he did.
But can I just say, Grace just said, he was told by a pastor, now it doesn't matter who he was told by, that he could have what he wanted. He's one of a handful of presidents in history who have actually taken the presidency twice. And that's a fact. He has got what he wanted.
OK. Thank you, Grace. After the break, we'll take more of your calls on Trump. Is he, as we've got over there, genius or madman? At the moment, the majority of people who've spoken think genius. 0207 862 2222 is the number. We'll see you very shortly. OK, let's go back to whether Trump is a madman or a genius. We mentioned him seeming open to discussions with Zelensky. So it's all moved on since that row on Friday. Yesterday, the Ukrainian president posted on social media saying no one wants an endless war and Ukraine is ready to come to the negotiating table. It's quite a long post there. He said his country values how much America has done to help, and he acknowledged the Oval Office meeting on Friday did not go the way it was supposed to. This was then what Trump said in his Congress speech.
Earlier today, I received an important letter from President Zelensky of Ukraine. Nobody wants peace more than the Ukrainians, he said. My team and I stand ready to work under President Trump's strong leadership to get a peace that lasts. Regarding the agreement on minerals and security, Ukraine is ready to sign it at any time that is convenient for you. We've had serious discussions with Russia and have received strong signals that they are ready for peace. Wouldn't that be beautiful? Wouldn't that be beautiful?
So many different angles to this. OK, we're just talking about Trump. Madman or genius? Susan in Liverpool, hello.
Hello, good morning.
I don't know if you can see our dial. Genius here, madman here. Where are you?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you now because I just... I'd say he's a bit of both. Because he's a madman in the sense that he's under the impression that he can fix everything. He can fix Gaza. He can fix Ukraine. The genius part is quite simply that he's a businessman first and foremost, so he'll look at it as a business transaction. He has decided, right, I will pull the plug on Ukraine getting their weapons.
Yeah.
At the same time, that will force Zelensky to come to the table and do what I want, which means when I go to Congress, I can tell Congress and America, look what I've done for you.
True,
So
but this will go wrong if, OK, fine, all good. Russia stop, he gets his minerals, Ukraine say, all right, we've lost 15% of our country, we'll live with it. Then, in 5 years' time, Russia goes into Lithuania. Then he doesn't look so clever, does he?
No, but he's not interested in Lithuania. He's not interested in anything else.
Putin?
He's interested in America first.
No, Putin we're talking
foremost.
about. OK, thank you, Susan. Thank you. Alan in Essex, I've got to carry on with the next call. We've got to get some more names on our board. Alan in Essex, hello.
Thank you. Alan in Essex, I've got to carry on.
Here we go. OK, Alan. You've got to mute your TV, my friend.
Hello, good morning, Jeremy.
Hello, okay, Alan.
I'm here.
Well
Can you
done.
hear me?
Yes. Have you got me?
I've got you.
Well done. Madman or genius, Alan?
Absolutely genius, Jeremy.
So right at the far end, it sounds like.
Totally so, yes. He's an extremely experienced businessman and also an extremely second-term president, extremely experienced politician, worldwide acceptance of him and his own country. America is 5 times our population. They voted for him.
Yeah, with that, yeah, but you know, he could be elected and not be a genius. He did. I mean, we come back to this thing. If he's a genius, why did he tell us to inject ourselves with disinfectant?
I know you've come back on that. He didn't actually say that. He was mumbling about that. He's not a scientist. He was mumbling about, we want a clean sink, put bleach down it, i.e. antibacterial.
Right.
If you could get an antibacterial into you, you'll cure the COVID. That was what he was
All
saying.
right.
But it was a bit mumbled. But it was not. He was not.
All right,
saying.
we'll give him a pass on it. Thanks, Alan. So interesting. Audrey in Powys, hello.
Hello.
Lots of people saying he's a genius. A lot.
I think he's mad. He's unhinged.
All right. Very or quite?
Very.
All right, Audrey, you go on the far end.
He's not logical, is he?
Well, at the moment he's moving the world around to his liking.
Well, I know. I don't understand it. I don't. But a lot of these.
Audrey, what's not logical?
I think it is logical.
Phil.
Well, he can't. No, anyone who says that the president of Ukraine started the war between them and Russia has got to be unhinged.
But it was a plan. It was something he was doing on purpose. He has said he's going to end the war. He humiliated him, and I didn't like to watch it. I really didn't. However, it is about to end the war.
Yeah, we can all applaud that.
But Audrey, you are concerned there's lying going on in here, are you? And how can you be a genius and be a liar?
You can.
You can't be.
Yeah.
No, you can't be.
You can't be.
And another thing I don't understand is, I mean, they're different in their own ways, aren't they? Trump and Putin. They're both dangerous. One is, well, Putin's very, very, very nasty as well.
I've never seen them in the same
room. What I don't understand, Liz, Osama bin Laden, Saddam Hussein, Colonel Gaddafi were all dealt with in isolation. Why can't they do the same with Trump?
Okay, thanks so much. David Stoke. Trump, lumping Trump in with them is maybe going a bit far. But Audrey's gone far onto the right here. Where are you on it, Dave?
I think he's a mad, bad man.
Right, so very mad or quite mad?
Quite mad.
Quite mad. Okay, so we're sort of up here, yep.
Yeah.
Because people are saying, well, hang on, what he's doing, the Ukraine thing, if it's deliberate, it is very clever. He's put everyone on the back foot and they're all going to come onto the front foot in the way that he wants them to.
He's just getting benefit, Trump, and he's a gangster at the end of the day. It's a protection racket. It's extortion on Ukraine.
And you think he's just getting the minerals out?
Dave, what's the alternative to Ukraine? Should it just go on forever?
No, I think more pressure should be put on Russia.
But Ukraine needs
and
weapons.
Europe.
Okay, we're going to leave it there because we're going to go to our break. That's interesting. And there's a lot more people than you might have guessed saying this guy's a genius. Whatever he's doing is working.